Our next speaker is Colleen Stanley. Prior to starting Sales Leadership, Inc., Colleen directed a national sales team of over 100 reps. In other words, she's walked in your shoes. Under her direction, Forbes magazine named VSC as one of the 200 fastest growing companies in the United States. And that was all organic growth, folks. She's the author of 2 books, Growing Great Sales Teams and Emotional Intelligence for Sales Success. Colleen is also a regular contributor to the Denver Business Journal. Clients such as Bic Graphic, Park/Xerox, OtterBox, and Orlando Magic describe Colleen's style as a refreshing combination of a Marine drill sergeant, Mother Teresa, and a stand-up comic. If you're not open to hearing about what you need to hear, she's not the person to hire for your next event. Please welcome Colleen Stanley.
Thanks for the introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Colleen Stanley, President of Sales Leadership, and welcome to Value Propositions, an Extreme Makeover. Let's talk today about how we harness the power of emotional intelligence and neuroscience to create compelling value propositions that quickly connect with prospects. So let's talk about some do's and don'ts of effective messaging. Number 1, an effective value proposition, messaging statement, pain statement, is focused on problems you solve for your prospects. It's not focused on features, advantages, and benefits. It's also focused on creating emotion in your prospects, but it's not focused on the logical. Now, here's the reason why. It's called the art and neuroscience of selling, and you're going to find more and more sales training firms and marketing firms embracing the power of selling to what we call the old brain. Let me explain. There's 2 parts to your brain that we're going to talk about today. There's many other parts, but these are the 2 we're going to focus on. The prefrontal cortex is often referred to as the executive center. It's logical, rational, and reasonable. However, the buying center, it's in the limbic system because you have a part of the brain called the amygdala, often referred to as the reptilian brain. And this part of your brain is designed to keep you safe. So all stimuli coming into the brain quickly runs through the amygdala, and the amygdala determines safe, not safe, go, or no go. Here's what's important to remember as a salesperson. This part of your brain is wired to avoid pain. And in fact, prospects will buy 2 to 3 times greater to avoid pain than to achieve gain. Notice the quote on the slide. Everything you do in life is based on your brain's determination to minimize danger or maximize rewards. So let's talk about how we create statements that minimize that danger, remind prospects of the danger of not buying your product or service. So let's take an example here. When you're creating great value propositions, it's important to paint pictures of the problems you solve. Here's why. The limbic system cannot take in words. It can only take in pictures. That's why when you see billboards on the highway, you will see big pictures because marketers know the limbic system can see, read the picture, but not the words. So let's say I'm a dad and I'm trying to talk my son into going to college. And I use the typical approach people use. I use the positive approach, all the benefits, and I appeal to the logical. And it might sound something like this. Son, you need to go to college because you'll get a good education. That will ensure a financially stable future and a good career path. Now, unfortunately, the intention is good, the methodology is off. If the dad really knew about selling principles, that people will move, make a change, purchase to avoid pain, the statement would sound like this. Son, you might want to consider college because if you don't, there's a good chance you're going to end up working for minimum wage in a cold factory, standing on a hard, cold cement floor. And you know, you may not be making enough money, so you might have to live with Aunt Mary. Now, which value propositions, financially stable future or working in a hard, cold factory, is going to appeal to a son's senses and create the move to attend college? Probably the statement that painted a picture of the problems you solve. It also appealed to the limbic system that wants to avoid pain. So let's take a look at a couple more examples. Is it time for a new CRM tool? Now, it would be very easy to go into the features, functions of a CRM tool. It's efficient. It makes you more productive. But you could rather paint a picture of the problems it solves. You know what? We're working with people that have information all over the place. They can't figure out which prospects are the right ones to work on. Information is missing, forecasting is off, and it's affecting cash flow. Which statements are going to appeal to a potential buyer? Benefits, positive, or the problems you solve? So let's work through a couple of examples. I encourage all of you to read the book by the Heath brothers, Made to Stick, because this is where I got the terms intangible and tangible. So let's put all of these pieces together. Remember, the limbic system cannot see words. However, it can see pictures. So we must paint pictures of the problems we solve. And applying the principle, people will move to avoid pain. So here's what a lot of companies do. They talk about their good customer service. Well, here's the mistake. It's an intangible. My limbic system cannot see that word. It's positive. How do people buy? To avoid pain. And it doesn't create a picture. So I need to sell to the old brain. And I need to make it tangible, something that old brain can connect with. And I need to sell to the negative and paint a picture. Frustrated with poor customer service, spending all their time trying to find a live human being. If you're a salesperson selling to a prospect, which messaging statement is more likely to engage the prospect, the left or the right? Let's take a look at another one. Good quality. Well, that's nice, but everybody's talking about good quality. And by the way, it's an intangible. My brain can't see it. It's positive. I buy more to avoid pain, and it doesn't paint a picture. So I'm going to describe it based on the industry I'm in, and it might be I'm tired of equipment breaking down, missed deliveries, upset customers. If you've got two salespeople selling the same services, which one's going to engage the prospect quicker? The one selling the intangible or the tangible? I'm putting my money on the tangible. Now, let's also learn the power of incorporating emotional trigger words. And emotional trigger words are the ones that remind prospects of sometimes the frustration, the overwhelm, the tiredness. And it's important to integrate those in your sentences. So, for example, I might start the sentence with, we're working with prospects that are overwhelmed by operations issues. They're staying late at the office and still can't catch up. Notice the power of that word, overwhelmed. But I'm also painting the picture, staying late. A prospect that's having that issue will quickly connect and say, wow, this salesperson gets my world. Let's look at another example. Tired of free consulting, spending hours writing proposals only to hear the prospect say, we're staying with our existing vendor. So the tired will emotionally appeal to that buyer, but also I've painted a picture and said the words they've heard so many times. We're staying with the existing vendor. I am emotionally connecting with that prospect. Now let's talk about empathy and the importance of speaking to your buyer. Empathy is an emotional intelligence skill, and it's one of the most powerful in connecting with people. Empathy is basically the ability to step into your prospect's shoes. And really, without even having them say anything, you know their world. Now, let me give you a couple of crazy examples here. I believe our prospects are being trained by Netflix and Amazon. Why? Because they are training your prospects to be this type of buyer. You better know my business. I'm expecting this more than ever. So when I pop up Netflix at home, it will have two names pop up. My husband's name, Jim, and my name, Colleen. Kind of spooky sometimes. And then it will ask, who's watching? And I click on my name. And then all the love stories and the movies come up with suggestions. They know my world. They know my preferences. So you must quickly demonstrate to prospects that I get you, I get your world. If not, they'll disqualify you and move on to a better salesperson. Let me give you an example. We worked with a group of investment bankers here in Denver, Colorado, capital value advisors, very smart guys, very competent gentlemen. However, they were making the mistake that a lot of companies make. They were speaking in benefit language, do language. So with a lot of work, we said, how can you quickly demonstrate that you know your potential buyer's world? And they help a lot of business owners sell their businesses. We'll notice a couple of the statements they came up with. We work with that business owner that's awake at 3 a.m., worrying about cash flow. They subject themselves and their families to significant financial and personal risk. Now, just reading that first paragraph, if you are a business owner getting ready to sell your business, have they demonstrated that they know your world, your worries? They painted pictures of the problems they solve, but they also did it showing empathy. I've been in your shoes. Now, here's a contrast. Let's take a look at a competitor here in Denver, Colorado. Same business, investment bankers. However, they didn't work with us. And here's what their website looks like. Very logical, benefit-oriented, and frankly, a little boring. It's all about them versus the prospect. So they're lacking the emotional appeal, they're lacking the empathy. Let's wrap up with one more point here. Customize your message. Because most of you are calling on multiple decision makers. However, a mistake I've seen in almost every company I work with, they have a generic, one-size-fits-all value proposition. It doesn't work. If you're not demonstrating quickly to that buyer, I get you, your position, your challenges in your industry, you'll be disqualified. I love the quote by Tom Searcy. He's the author of Hunt Big Sales, and he says, you get sent to whom you sound like. And folks, if you don't sound like the C-suite buyer, the executive, you're going to get set down to the food chain where all the non-decision makers live. You get sent to whom you sound like. So my final point is customize that value proposition and continue your learning. For more good stuff, as we call it at Sales Leadership, please visit our website. We've got lots of free resources there. We've got videos, video blogs, articles. We've got white papers. What's your sales EQ quiz? I think you'll find a plethora of information to help you on your journey to become a better professional salesperson. And don't forget your value proposition makeover. Thanks for joining me today, and I'm signing off.